I've been interested in the intersection of digital art and contemporary art honestly for quite a while. And so when I came to Austin, which has such an incredible kind of tech community and digital scene, it seemed like a really nice fit to think about how we could bring digital art to our audiences. Every single artwork in the show is algorithmically derived. So one of the ways we're talking about it is the actual medium of the artwork is an algorithm. So it's part of the making of the work of art. So the visual outputs are often determined by algorithmic systems. So this is connected to the internet to mirror the weather of its location it's installed in. So it's a sunny, hot day here in Texas. And so it's a sunny, nice day here in our world of irreversible change. Lots of things end up happening that are triggered by these layered algorithms that generate all these new outcomes. But it is set up with these two sensors. So if you get within a quarter inch of the screen, it inserts a new algorithmic form into the system. And eventually, if you trigger it enough times, which we don't know what the trigger is, what the number of times is,
right.
That's the game of life. You don't know. It'll burn down the world. They'll end up destroying the entire world. Then if it sits for months, the nature will revive, but the people will never come back. And the piece behind me is by the artist Madeline Hollander. It's called Heads and Tails, Walker Broadway #4. And what Madeline Hollander did is she took reclaimed heads and tail lights and has created this sculpture from them. And I love that it has this kind of ready-made feel, this kind of pop art feel, this element of art history, but each head and tail light is connected to a computer. And it's feeding data from a stoplight at the corner of Walker and Broadway in New York City. And so what we see as the headlights kind of light up or change is we're actually witnessing the traffic patterns at a busy intersection in Tribeca in New York City in real time behind us. I absolutely love this work. This is by an artist named Marina Zerkow. It's called Mesocosm, Wink, Texas. And so this is actually an image that she drew of a sinkhole in Wink, Texas, and then put the drawing into the computer and then drew a lot of different things. We just saw a bird fly by.
Yes.
There's individuals that will come out in hazmat suits. There's bags, there's butterflies, but the computer algorithm sends them out at different times. It represents a year in 143 hours. So you can always tell what time and day it is. It's November 6th at 6 p.m. And right now we have a train going by, which I don't think I've ever seen before. And so these different events happen, and it becomes this kind of meditation on the land. So it's both this kind of liminal space, but a space that's highly impacted by human intervention.
Wow, it's just lovely.
We're participants in data aggregation all the time. And I think one of the things that's so incredible about what the artists do in this show is they take algorithms that are often used for productivity, for marketing, for sales, for all of these elements in life that are in some ways hidden to become part of our daily landscapes. Here they're actually taking them and creating obvious or colorful or fluid environments. And often the algorithms are not even created or utilized with an amount of efficiency that a computer scientist working in a tech company would appreciate. They're kind of utilized to be fun.
Many of us know of Charles Butt from HEB, etc., but he has a large collection of American modern art. Would you tell us how you selected the pieces, or are these all of his pieces?
It's not his whole collection, but it's basically a survey of American 20th century painting is one way to look at it, through one man's personal eye and taste, which is always interesting to kind of think about. Around 1912, all over the world, really in Europe and America, people start exploring abstraction form for its own sake. So that's kind of what opens the exhibition, is a little mini survey of abstract art in the 20th century. And you can see some of that behind me in the work of Mark Rothko.
Yes,
I don't know if you can see that.
right away.
And that's kind of the most famous movement of abstract art in a way is abstract expressionism, which is when abstract art becomes to kind of be accepted critically in many ways. Because many people understand what abstract art is. It doesn't have any meaning. What does it mean to just have pure form and pure color? But it was a revolution. The opening wall of this exhibition pairs two artists that I think are really interesting. Ellsworth Kelly, an artist associated with the Blanton because we have this beautiful building that he designed on our campus. And this painting by him from 1958 called Palisades is paired with another beautiful abstract work by an artist named Alma Thomas. She had a really interesting career. She was a school teacher in public schools in Washington taught art, but was a teacher. And then she turned to painting as a kind of late career move and became the first African-American woman to have a solo exhibition at the Whitney Museum in 1972. But she developed this beautiful sort of staccato-like rhythmic application of small brush strokes and then a beautiful color palette. And I always think of like fields of flowers or things like that. I think she loved to garden and she loved nature. And so there's always references to the natural world in her work. And so both of these paintings reference. One section that I really like is devoted to a movement called Precisionism. An exhibition is at its best if you don't have to, if things explain themselves visually. And I just think the cohesiveness of the way these artists treated surfaces, the interest in industrial subject matter, kind of hard edges, is something that really comes through. And that's the Precisionist aesthetic very much. Charles Sheeler was a really important photographer as well as a painter, and he used photographs like many other artists would use drawings. So he actually flipped two negatives to make this kind of double image of this barn or this sort of shaker building. And he was interested in photography because it sort of removed the hand of the artist, and he was really interested in having not brush strokes, but like a really hard-edged texture to his work, which is where the term Precisionism kind of comes from. Andrew Wyatt is a very interesting artist. I think some people see him as a traditional artist in many ways, and he did do very traditional subjects in some sense, but he also has a surreal side. And this painting is even though it looks like a straightforward view of a man looking at the ocean from his porch, when you first look at it, when you look closer, you realize it's actually like the house is floating in the ocean. So it has a very strange, surreal side to it. You know, in the context of the way we're showing this piece, we kind of absolutely saw that as a stand-in for Charles Butt.
Yes.
A man I've never met and don't know, but I know that he is very fond of the sea and he's a sailor, like a serious sailor.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking to his curator, she's like, that's Charles. So we put that painting there very consciously to kind of, as a nod to this man who's put together this incredible collection.